Hi there. Welcome to this learning channel, Excel in Excel. So it's good to have you back. Uh, in today's video, we will look into the use of range names and sheet names in our formula. So we can actually make our formula more powerful when we access different ranges or different sheets. And the same formula can actually refer to different set of data depending on certain inputs. So that's the agenda today. To do that, we will basically look at two new functions. One is offset and the other one is indirect. The offset function allows us to create a range at runtime. That means when we were making the model, we may not have exact details of the range, and this range might vary depending on other inputs. So offset allows us to create a range on the fly. On the other hand, the indirect, this allows us to further automate and gives us more flexibility in terms of accessing different range or different sheets from the same formula depending on what sort of inputs are provided to us. So let's try to delve more into this function. Now the offset function basically has a reference. It asks for the number of rows, number of columns, and the height and width. So I was talking about a range, and so range was an address. For example, A1 to A5 or B1 to M1. These are ranges. Now offset, what it does, it returns a range. The offset function always returns a range, and this range can be got based on certain values that we might provide into the function or into the functions rather. So in its very rudimentary form, let's see what offset can do. So having this data here, if somebody asks this question, what is the sale of a particular city for a particular month, then maybe we can see if offset helps us. So if the question is, what is the sale of Dispur for the month of May, then of course we are looking at Dispur and we are looking at May. So and the result will be of course this 238. Now to find this 238, we can use an offset function. So when we use an offset function, first and foremost we use a reference. So you can assume offset being a instruction to a particular destination as given to you by a passerby. So you are lost somewhere. You ask a person, how do I reach point A? And she or he might respond, okay, from here go straight down that many steps, then take a right turn, and then after that you move that many steps and you would find your destination. Now that's exactly offset does. So first we start with a reference. The reference can be anything, but for the sake of discussion here, let me select A1 as the reference. In other words, what we are basically saying is that this is the place where I have met the passerby. So as I was walking around, I was here at A1 and I meet a passerby and whom I ask, can you tell me where will I get the sale of Dispur for the month of May? Now that person might tell me, okay, you go 3 rows down, right? 1, 2, 3. You go 3 rows down and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 columns to the right. You go 3 rows down and 5 columns to the right and you will reach your destination. That's what offset does. Because A1 is my reference, so my destination will be based on this reference, 3 rows down, 5 columns to the right. Now therefore, as I said, we come down 3 rows, that's the number of rows. So after the reference, offset asks for the rows. So we come down 3 rows, that's why I had given 3 here. And then it asks for the column. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go 5 columns. Now therefore, we have reached this position. Now we have reached this 238 position here. Now it asks me what is the height and width. Now these are optional. If I had ignored them, I would have got 238. But let me also give a value for this. and that is 1 comma 1. Now what this basically means is that once I have reached this position, right, once I have gone down 3 rows and once I had taken 5 columns to the right, I have reached this place. Now in this place, what is the size of the range that I want? So first it asks me height. So height of this range is 1 and the width of this range is also 1. What does it mean? That means height is 1 cell, width is 1 cell. So therefore 1 comma 1. So if I want a single cell, it is 1 comma 1. On the other hand, if I wanted 238 and 161 together, then the height would have been 2 and the width would have been 1. On the other hand, if we had asked for 238 and 222, then the height would have been 1, but the width would have been 2. Right? So that is what offset does in its very basic format. Now you might want to say, why would I need an offset? Because we could have done this job with a VLOOKUP and a match, or 2 matches and an index, or an HLOOKUP and a match, which we have seen before. Absolutely, we can do that. So maybe we may want to use an offset for this, or we may not want to use an offset for this. In this way, offset is looking more like a lookup function. That means depending on this pur and may, we are trying to look up and say, where is this 238? Indulge me for a few more minutes before I answer here the question, why offset is required. Are there scenarios where match and index, or for example, VLOOKUP and index, or HLOOKUP and index will not do the job that offset can do for us? But before we do that, let's say now the destination and the month changes. So somebody asked me that what is the sale of Patna in the month of June? Now of course here is Patna and here is June, that is 112. So now therefore what would happen is, instead of this, if we keep A1 as our reference, that means A1 is still the place where I meet the person from whom I am taking the instruction, then this time I have to come down 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and I'll have to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 columns to the right, because now June is the 6th column from here. So row is first, we don't count the cell where you have the reference. So we don't count A1. So A2, A3, A4, A5, that's 4 rows down. And then again, we don't count the column A because our reference is A. So we start from B, C, D, E, F, G. So June is in G, so there are 6 columns. So I could change this 3 to 4 and this 5 to 6 and I'll get the result. But then again, after some time, somebody might change these values. So again, I'll have to go on and change this 3 and 5 to something else. Can we do a better job? Maybe we can. So what we will do now is that, because we no longer want this 238, we automate this whole process. That means once somebody tells me Patna and June, my offset function should be such that it will automatically take these values. That means I don't have to go and change this 3 and 5, etc. every time. So let's use a match. Now to figure out where Patna is, let's match Patna in this range. Now if we match Patna in this range, you would see, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Patna is in the 5th position in this particular lookup range. So the lookup array that we had given, I believe you remember match, which we had covered in the previous session. So in this range, using the match, Patna appears in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th position. So this match is going to return me a 5. However, just some time back I had mentioned that when you give a reference, for example, in this case I had given the reference as A1. Now, therefore, that cell will not be counted for offset. So when you count how many rows you should come down, you should not include the first row, first cell, that is A1. But in my lookup array in match, I had also included this, and therefore it returns me 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. But actually offset needs, starting from A1, it needs 1, 2, 3, 4. And therefore I would put a -1, and this whole value I'll put in here. So offset of this match -1, in this case for Patna I'll get, match will give me 5, -1, 4. So this is the value that I'll put in here. I could have avoided this minus 1 provided I had taken the range for the match starting from A2 rather than A1. So, for the other position, when I'm looking at June, let me use another match. So now I'm using a match and I'm taking this range now. So I'm taking from B2 to M2, sorry, B1 to M1. So the lookup array is B2 to B1 to M1 and the lookup value is June. So this will return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it will return 6. And as we had discussed, from A1, I need to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to reach June. This time, as you see, I have not started my lookup array from A1. Rather, I started from B1 and therefore I don't need to give a minus 1. So this is the value I'm going to put in here. And of course, finally, once I have reached here, that means 4 rows down and 6 columns to the right, I have reached this. So I would again ask for the height as 1 and width as 1. So using offset along with match, you can automate this process. In other words, what you can say is whatever we are doing till now is still a another version of lookup. So we are looking up based on two values, which we had also discussed in our previous session. So basically what we are saying is that if we are finding out something, for example, here is the value Patna and June given to me. So what am I going to do now is that I am going to write an offset. So equal to offset. It asks for a reference. So I give a reference. In case I have to copy this, drag it down, maybe I want to keep the reference always the same. So I might have to make it absolute. I might have to put some dollars. But as of now, I'm doing just this one. So it asks me for the number of rows. And if I manually count it, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Patna is 4. And June, as we had seen, it is 6. And if we give 1, 1, we get the answer as 112. And that is the June Patna. So Patna and June, this is that 112 that we are looking for. On the other hand, if I want to make this automated, right? On the other hand, if I want to make it automated, then what I'm going to do is that instead of this 4 and 6, I'm going to use a match. So what is my lookup value? My lookup value is Patna. And the lookup array, let's take this. Maybe let me take this whole thing. And I want a exact match. But notice I had started my range from A1 and my offset reference is also A1. And since we are not going to count the reference cell, so let's subtract 1 from there. Because now Patna is going to come at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Patna is coming down at the 5th row based on this match. But because we are not going to count this A1, we actually need to move 1, 2, 3, 4. And therefore, what we're going to do is we give that minus 1. And as far as June is concerned, we will put another match. And our lookup value is June. And maybe this time I don't want to put this minus 1. So let me select from B1 to M1. Right? From B1 to M1. And I want an exact match. So again a 0. So that's what I have put in. So first match A1 to A29, which takes care of the name of the city. And the next range that I have looked in the match is B1 to M1, which basically takes care of the month. And therefore you are this 112. That's what we are looking for. So we found out the value that we were looking for. So the formula is this. Again, which I had explained some time back. We give a reference, and to automate the process, we use a match to find out the position. In this lookup array, if I have already started from the reference cell, then I need to subtract 1. But if I have not started from the reference cell, then I don't need to subtract 1. So that's the result that we were looking for here. But if you look at this reference cell, it's not necessary that the reference cell will always be coming on the left hand side. It's very possible that we might want our reference cell on the right hand side. So, for example, going into the same problem again, that I want to see what is the sale of Dispur in the month of May, I can start again with an offset, but this time let's say we use N2 as the reference cell. Now, in that case, what we have to do is we have to come down 2 rows, and therefore we come down 2 rows, and we have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have to move 8 rows, but this time this 8 rows is to the left, not to the right. If I just type in 8 now, it will mean 8 rows to the right, and therefore this time what I need is a minus sign, because I am going on the left, right? I am going from right to left, there is a minus sign. So, if I am going from left to right, it is a plus. If I am going from right to left, it is a minus. If I am coming from top to bottom, it is a positive one, but for some reason if I had to go from bottom to top, then it would be minus 2, and of course 1 comma 1. This will give me the value of 238 that I was looking for. So, the reference cell can be anywhere based on your convenience, based on the requirement of the model, but do remember that if I am asking for the position of let's say Qutub Minar, if I am asking from Karol Bagh, then of course the direction from Karol Bagh to Qutub Minar will be different vis-a-vis direction from Palam to Qutub Minar. So, therefore, it depends on our reference, which is the reference, and based on the reference our directions will be different. So, in this case we were reaching the same cell 238, but if my reference was A1, we would have come down 3 rows, moved 5 columns to the right. If my reference is N2, then we would have come down 2 rows and moved 8 columns to the left, right. So, that is what offset is. But what happens if we are not looking at a single value? Let's say somebody asks me what is the total sale of Dispur. Now, total sale of Dispur is not a single cell, but all these values together, and therefore if I am finding out the total sale of Dispur, then of course I have to basically sum this range. But again, as I said, somebody might also ask me what is the total sale of Patna. In that case, of course, it will be another range. I will have to sum that range. So, therefore, in this particular case, offset becomes more interesting than whatever we had been seeing till now. Till now, whatever we have seen, offset was working more like a lookup function. But now comes the real power of offset. Offset allows me to select a range depending on certain values. So, for example, based on Dispur, I can select a range. Now, in this case, of course, continuing with the previous idea of keeping A1 as my reference. So, I keep A1 as my reference, and then I come down 3 rows to get into Dispur, which I can do it with a match, right? I can do it with a match. You already know that. Now, once I have come down to Dispur, now to get this range, I just need to move 1 column to the right. So, therefore, I move 1 column to the right from here to January, and then I want this range. As you can see, the height of this range is 1 cell, but the width of this cell, this range is 12 cells. So, the height is 1 cell and the total width is 12 cells. Now, I have got this range. If I write this formula is going to return me 12 values, 233, 290, 187, 289 and so on and so forth up to 109. But I am writing this formula in a single cell. So, I ideally should be able to store only one value, and therefore, what we can do is, since I was looking at the total sale, we can sum this entire range. So, as you can see, I have done a sum on a range which was provided by offset. So, I could have written the formula as sum of let us say B4 to M4, but then here the advantage is that if instead of this 3, I use a match to figure out which is the town that I'm searching for, then this sum becomes a conditional sum based on the city that we are looking for. So, if again going back to Excel, let's try to do that. So, here we are. So, let's say now the month is not a factor. So, I want to find out the total sale of Patna. So, as I said, I can write sum, of course, and then I am using offset reference. So, if I am using A1 as the reference, comma, I need Patna. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 4. So, I need 4 rows to come down. Then I just need to move one column as we had just seen. So, once I have reached one column, I am in this location now, that 169. So, I have come to this location. Now, one small trivial point maybe to remember is that when from the reference we count the number of rows or number of columns, we do not include our reference cell. So, as you can see now, we had come down 4 rows, that is what the 4 I had given here, and I have moved one column. So, I am in, currently I am in this region B5. Now, I need to give the height, that is 1, and the width, that is 12. So, notice one thing, that once I have reached my location, when I am giving the height and width, that particular cell is also included. That means, when I came down 4 rows and I moved one column, as I said, I was in B5. Now, when I give height as 1 and column as 12, B5 also gets included in that range, and therefore, now here we are, and that is it, 2039. So, if I take the sum of Patna, as you can see, it is 2039, and therefore, 2039 is the result that we are getting. Again, what I meant is this, that this was our reference cell, right? This was our reference cell. So, when we come down 4 rows, we do not count the reference cell. Then what we said is, we move to the next column. So, we move to, okay, let me put another color. Let us say we move to this column now, and now I want to make this range, right? So, when I make this range, I give this range size as height as 1 and width as 12. The cell that which I had reached based on my reference number of rows and number of columns, this cell is also included in the range, right? So, if I want to automate it better, yes, instead of this 4 which I had counted manually, I can use a match. Okay. Note, I can't use a VLOOKUP or an HLOOKUP because I need the position, and last time we had discussed that match returns a position, while VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, they return a value. So, here I am looking for a position. So, what I am doing is I will match Patna, right, and I will match Patna from this. So, this time I am leaving out A1 so that I do not have to do that -1 anymore, right. So, I left out this A1. So, this time, as you can see, my range is taken from A2, and yes, we want an exact match. So, therefore, as you can see now, I have got Patna, I have searched Patna using this match function, and therefore, my result is 2039. Now, instead of Patna, if I make it Dispur, 2506, and here it is, this is Dispur, right. So, we get 2506, or for that matter, if I make it Mumbai, right, it is 2429. So, let us look at Mumbai, and yes, it is 2429. So, as you can see, I could automate a few things out here. So, it's like a query form that has become, you give me you type in the city and you will get the total sales here, right. So, type in the city and the total sale is here. Okay. Now, that's basically all about offset. So, here in this case, of course, I had given the range as height as 1 and width as 12, right? But there is a possibility sometime that you might want different height and different width. So, you might want, for example, height as 5 and width as 6, possible. So, all we need to do is we just need to ensure what is the size of the range that we are looking for. Just like these values could have been negative, as I said, if you move from right to left or bottom to top, those will be negative. Similarly, it's possible that these values can also be positive or negative. Now, again, the logic is same. Once I had come to B5 for Patna, since I was moving from left to right, it is a positive value. If I had moved other way, then of course it would possibly be in a negative value once again. Now that's about offset. But we are still not done. We still have a few interesting things to look into, and therefore let's continue. So here we are. In the last scene, what we had done is we tried to automate this searching the city, and based on that we found out the total sale for all the months. But what happens if the question comes that I need the total sale of Patna for the month of June for 22? That means while I am in the sheet 2019, the values are in the sheet 2022. I'll show you when I go into the Excel sheet again, but the structure of all the sheets 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 are all same. Now therefore what's happening is this, that I would need to figure out Patna and June, but I'll have to do that in the sheet 2022. However, let's say I'm writing the formula in the sheet 2019. So if I wrote the formula in 2022, we already know how to do that. As of now, we had been doing it for 2019. That means the values were in the sheet 2019 and we were calculating in the sheet 2019. Now we want to calculate in 2019 for values which are in 2022. In that case, the formula would look like this. So what we are doing is, we are again using an offset. Okay, we are using a reference, again A1, but not in the 2019 cell. We are using in the 2022 sheet cell A1 as our reference. Then we are matching Patna. We are matching Patna not in this A1 to A8, but we are matching Patna in 2022 sheet A2 to A8. And similarly, when we are matching June, we are not matching from B1 to M1 in sheet 2019, but we are matching it in sheet 2022. So notice at this part how the address is written. When the address is written, what it does, within apostrophes, the name of the sheet comes in, and then I have the exclamation mark and then the cell ranges. So 2022 is the sheet name and A2 to A8 is the range. So when we give this address, first is the name of the sheet separated by an apostrophe, or rather enclosed by apostrophe, then an exclamation mark, then A2 to A8. Therefore, if I want to make this automated, that means just like last time when I typed from Patna to let's say Dispur, or I type Mumbai, the total sale automatically changed. Maybe I would want to do something like this, that I'll take a cell here and the year will also be typed in. So as the year changes, I should go into the right sheet and get my answer. So as you can see, if 2022 is given to me, maybe I put it from a cell, then to restructure this, I can do it this way. First I need an apostrophe, so I am doing a string concatenate function. Okay, it's a character function, so a string function or a text function rather. So on this text function, first I am putting the apostrophe. So just see, within two double quotes I've put the apostrophe. That means that's a string containing only the apostrophe. Then I'm concatenating it with 2022. So I concatenate it with 2022. Then I concatenate it. Okay. I think I made a small mistake here. This quotation mark won't have come. Okay, this quotation is wrong. So this double quote shouldn't have been there. So I give 2022 and then I have this ampersand. As I said, ignore this quotation mark. And then within quotation mark, I have the other closing apostrophe and then exclamation mark, then A2 to A8. If you look at this, what I have done is I had got this quotation mark, this apostrophe mark rather, I put it under quotes, so that's a string. Then this 2022, right, this 2022 I got from somewhere, maybe a cell address, and then again an ampersand, everything else, that means this apostrophe, this exclamation mark, A2, colon, A8, this whole thing I have put it as a string. So once we concatenate, the result would be this. This is a total string. Now if I put this string around, if I put a string like this, Excel will interpret it as a text. It would not interpret it as an address. Though it looks like an address, but it will not consider it as an address. To ensure that it considers it as an address, we use indirect. So an indirect function, what it does, it tells Excel, don't read the value directly as it is. Look at the indirect meaning of that, which is an address stored herein. So therefore, this will be marked as an address. And therefore, what we have to do is, as I said, we will have to put an indirect before that. Now, this string, if this string, the text that is there, if that can be understood as an address, and if Excel can trace out that address, you will get the value or whatever you want to do based on that address. On the other hand, if the address, the text that you have given does not mean an address, but you have still given an indirect, in that case Excel will consider it as an address, but since it was not actually an address, it won't be able to find it and you will get the reference error. So you will get hash ref error. So with the indirect, if you get an hash ref error, the reference error, it basically means the string that you have created or assembled is not a proper address. Maybe you might have missed an apostrophe, or you might have given another apostrophe, or you might have missed something else, and because of that you have got into that problem. So now therefore, instead of this, when I write this match Patna 2022 exclamation mark A2 to A8, or rather apostrophe 2022 apostrophe closing exclamation mark A2 to A8, this thing can be replaced by this indirect, and within this indirect, this purple formula will be written where we would refer this 2022 to an address. So ideally therefore, if we use a city, and if we give a month, and if we give a year, and we have to figure out what is the content of that particular cell, that means in sheet 2022 for the month of June, for the city of Patna, what is the value, then as you can see, what we have done is we have changed the formula a bit. If you go back, we had started with offset, we had 2022 within apostrophe, of course, apostrophe 2022 A1 exclamation A1. Now that has become within quotes apostrophe ampersand P4. As you can see, P1 2 3 4, P4 contains the year, so it will become 2022, and then again after the quote I am giving exclamation, the apostrophe exclamation mark A1, and therefore as you can see, I had typically recreated this. This is recreated as a text function with ampersand. So apostrophe P4 apostrophe exclamation A1, and since P4 is 2022, I would get 2022 A1, but then that's a text, and therefore we are putting the indirect here. Similarly, next we had the match P2. P2 is city, so we are matching P2, and where are we matching? We were matching it in 2022 A2 to A8. So I had used A2 to A9 here. So what we had done is again apostrophe P4, P4 is the year. So apostrophe P4, last time I told you that there will be no quotes here, that was a mistake. So as you can see ampersand, then again within quotes apostrophe exclamation mark A2 to A9 and 0 for an exact match. So therefore this is the part that I just talked about. And lastly we have match June, and again this address was there B1 to M1, and for this what we do is we match P3, P3 as June, and again we use an indirect. We use this apostrophe, we use this apostrophe, and then we concatenate P4, that is the year, and again within quotes apostrophe exclamation mark B1 to M1, and this whole thing we had put in under indirect, and then the match, of course there is a 0, and finally we are talking of only one cell, so height is 1, width is 1. So therefore this is how we can automate pretty much things. So let's again go back and see how this works out in Excel. But as you can understand, sometimes writing this formula can be a little difficult, because when you are using this indirect, the formula sometimes tend to become a bit longer, right? So what we would do is we would follow a little different approach. Okay, so let me recreate what was there. Let's say a month is, say, June again. So the sale for the month, we want to calculate it here. So first what we will do is we will try to write the formula first without bothering too much about indirect. So here is the formula that we are going to write, equal to offset. We will go to 2022. So we go to 2022. As I said, the structure is similar, right? So we take this A1 as our reference. Then we come back here. Now we will give a match, right? So we found out the reference. So let me delete this out, and then we type a match. Match what? Match Mumbai, the city. Okay, where we will match. This 2019 that came in here is not very important, because as long as I am writing the formula here, if the name of the sheet is not there, current sheet will be assumed. So where am I going to find Mumbai? In this. So let me select from here. So this is the place where I am going to find Mumbai, and then let me again go back, and of course yes, it's an exact match, and let me go back here again. Sorry, I gave an O rather than 0. Yeah. So here I am, and then I have to find June. So therefore what I will do is now I will again give a match, and we will find June. But where will we find it? We will find it in the 2022 sheet, and we will take this range now, B1 to M1, and yes, we expect an exact match. So there we are. Okay, all right. So as you can see, we got 291. So look at the formula again. We did not give 1 comma 1, because if it is one cell, that should be okay. So we used an offset, and then okay, let me make it a little bigger, the screen, so that it becomes better visible here. So as you can see, what we had done now is we had used offset. We had taken this A1. Now A1 of which sheet? The 2022 sheet. Then we went for a match. We took P12 2019. Since we have written it here, 2019 is not very important for us, because it is in this cell, in this sheet. So 2019 is the current sheet. Have it, remove it, doesn't matter. But then again, where are we matching this Mumbai? We are matching this Mumbai in sheet 2022 A2 to A29. We want an exact match 0, and then again we match 2019 P13 that is June. And where do we match it? 2022 B1 to M1, and again it's an exact match. So what we are doing is we are working from the cell 2019, but we are looking at the data in the sheet 2022. So this is the sheet in which we are looking, and therefore if we find Mumbai, where is Mumbai? Yeah, so there is Mumbai, and we want Mumbai June, that is 291. So as you can see, we are in the sheet 2022. We look at Mumbai, right? We are looking at Mumbai, and we are looking at June, and therefore we are getting this 291. Let's see if we are getting our result correct. That's 291. If we change this to maybe August, we are getting 368. So let's go to sheet number or sheet name 2022. For August, as you can see, this value is 368. So Mumbai August is 368, and what we got is also 368. On the other hand, if we want Mumbai, let's say 2021, then of course I'm not getting this value, because as of now in this entire formula I have not used this cell. That means P14 is not used anywhere here, and therefore if I change the year, as you can see, I change the year, nothing happened, 368. And so if I go to this year, okay, and we are looking at sale of Mumbai, where is Mumbai again? Yeah, sale of Mumbai. We are looking at the sale of Mumbai in the month of August, right? That is 295. But we are not getting 295, we are getting 368, because it is only based on Mumbai and August, and the address here of course is for 2022. Now let's get indirect. So the best way of writing a formula using indirect is not to start it from the scratch, but make the formula like the one I had done. So without indirect, I have got my result for a particular sheet, and I have seen how the addresses come in. Now what will I do is I will edit this. I'll edit this formula. What is the advantage here? The advantage here for me is that I already know all the addresses, how they would come, and therefore I will put an indirect wherever this 2022 has come in. For that part, I'll use an indirect. So indirect. So first there is this apostrophe. So let's put this apostrophe within quote. Then we give an ampersand. But this 2022 is something that I don't want. I want to give this as a reference to a cell. So let me delete this 2022 and put this cell reference P4, and then ampersand. Remaining part, that is up to A1, should remain as it is, and there I am. So as you can see, I didn't have to think too much whether where the exclamation mark should come, where the quote should come, where the apostrophe should come. I basically looked at the previous value and changed whatever I thought needed a change. Similarly here, let's go into this again, 2022 A2 to A29. So again, as you can see, this part is an address bearing to 2022, bearing a different sheet name. I'm ignoring this part. The reason is it is bearing the current sheet name. So as long as I work in this particular sheet, this particular worksheet, it doesn't matter. This 2019 will be anyway assumed. So wherever there is an address part, okay, not just 2022, the entire address part, wherever there is an address part bearing the name of another sheet, that is where I am going ahead. So here again I will put an indirect. Again I need that apostrophe, so I start a quotation mark, move beyond the apostrophe, that's done, ampersand, and again 2022 is something that I will not require. I will give a reference to this, and the reference is of course 2021, that is that P cell P14, whether it is 2021 or 22 or 23 or 20, it doesn't matter. Whatever is that, that's what we will look at. Now therefore I'll concatenate it, and the remaining part will be a string. So up to this is the address, there you are. So I have done that, right? Now so this part is also taken care of. Just need to be careful about that we have not made any mistake in putting those quotes. but because I'm changing it from here, it's comparatively easier. So again, this is the part 2022 B1 M1. So I'll put again an indirect here, and this apostrophe must be within quote. Then we'll give an ampersand. We want to remove direct reference of the year, but we want to give the address, and then I want to concatenate this again, and again the remaining part of the address, let's put it as a string. And yeah, so there is a bracket which I missed. I think Excel would correct that. Oh no, Excel did not. So let's say Excel did not correct that. So let me put this bracket here, because I did not close the indirect bracket. That's why the problem came in, and there is still a problem. Yeah, now we are correct. So as you can see, for 2021 I got 295. Mumbai, August 2021. So let's go in 2021. Mumbai, August, it is 295. So as you can see now, we have got this 295 here. If I change this to 2022, I got 368, as we had seen before, the 368. However, see, interestingly, if I make it 2023, I'll get a reference error. Why? Because 2023, this address that it would have calculated, that it would have created using the 2023, it can't find because there is no sheet called 2023, and therefore I get a reference error for this. So once again, look at what we have done. First, we had got the formula created by moving to the right sheets, right cells, so that we got the general formula. And then wherever the reference to 2022 or 21, whatever I had used, had come, I had used an indirect to modify that part. So within indirect, what I have is a string. So within indirect, we have a string created by multiple values concatenated together. So in all the cases, you would surely have concatenation of those apostrophe signs, exclamation sign, possibly the sheet name. And sometime you might also want to have these also changed. For example, if I also want this A1 to vary by itself, then maybe I can put this and put an exclamation and put a ampersand and then put it something like this. In other words, in this case, what's going to happen is that the address, that means P14, whatever that address would be, that is taken from the cell A1. Therefore, in A1, in the cell A1, if I type, of course, in that particular sheet, if I type in, for example, B1, then that particular sheet, cell number B1 will become the reference. But anyway, that's not what we are doing here. So let's remove that. We are saying A1 is A1. It's exactly how it is given. And therefore, there it is. I can also do the current one. For example, 2019. 2019 Mumbai, August. That is this current sheet. So Mumbai, here you are. And August, here we are. So Mumbai, August, it's 204. And here we are getting 204. So that's the advantage of an indirect function. Lastly, I think it is trivial now, but yes, in case of here, of course, as I said, I did not write 1 comma 1, which I can also write. But if I want to get a range from another sheet and maybe sum from there or take a maximum there or do a standard deviation of that, I can do it. That means instead of 1 comma 1, I can have 1 comma 12 or 1 comma 20 or 1 comma 30 or 1 comma 5, depending on what is the type of range I'm looking at, or maybe 2 comma 1 if I'm looking at the range like this, or 10 comma 1, that means 10 cell but in one column. So I can get those results accordingly. So that's all what we wanted to discuss in this video. So we have discussed, as you have seen, two important functions, the offset and the indirect, and taking both of them together, we are now in a position to develop much more sophisticated models which can take data from different regions, multiple worksheets, and work on different conditions, all depending on what sort of inputs are provided during the runtime of the model. So, all the best as you try to develop those sophisticated models with a lot of automations and continue learning till we meet again. Thank you.